Or what?
They're leaning into woke. Hardcore.
They're petrified of some kind of backlash.
They're pretending like Rachel Ziegler is the first of them all when she looks like Lord Farquaad in the film.
Every way that Disney changed the story, it changed it for the worse.
Nobody wants a movie about true love. What kind of woman do we want out there seeking true love, Ellana? It's the outrage.
I wanted my money back. It was very disappointing.
So she comes off as an insufferable, whiny brat.
No one on the right side of America can stand the star of this movie.
So apparently, according to them and according to the writers of Snow White, women can't even want to be in love anymore.
The new Disney boss babe, who is Rachel Ziegler, the inverse of happy.
Only made less than $1 million in China.
They spent $170 million to make the thing, and it had the lowest opening, under $50 million, of any of these live-action Disney remakes that they've ever had.
Now, I'm guessing that she's not married. I'm guessing that she doesn't have kids. The movie is a complete disaster, by the way.
Rachel Ziegler, she's an...
Rachel Ziegler, like so many kids raised on TikTok, she's all for infantada is the only global solution.
And, you know the saying, go woke, get broke, and Disney's going to lose money on this movie, and I believe it.
Rachel Ziegler is extraordinarily woke, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged.
Hang on, are you ready for a wild ride through a big controversy? Folks out there are hinting at a hardcore woke push, and they seem totally freaked out about possible backlash. Who wants a film that still believes in true love? What kind of person is supposed to yearn for genuine romance these days? Actually, one source close to Ellana is outraged and wants a refund, calling it painfully disappointing. They're saying Disney is acting like Rachel Ziegler is some groundbreaking discovery. Even though they think she resembles Lord Faad on screen, evidence is starting to point to every alteration Disney made only made things worse. And the new Disney boss babe, Rachel Ziegler, sounds like the total opposite of cheerful, coming across like a grating and whiny complainer. Nobody on the conservative side of the country can handle this film's lead, Rachel Ziegler, who, according to an expert familiar with the situation, seems like so many people raised on TikTok, totally all in on infat as if it's the only global answer.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird. She's not going to be safe with the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love.
Oh my God.
They are implying that, in this new Snow White adaptation, women can't even crave being in love anymore. He implied she's likely unmarried and child-free, and maybe that's part of why the movie is seen as a complete mess. According to a source close to the production, Rachel Ziegler is unbelievably woke, but apparently in a twisted way. You know the phrase, go woke, get broke, and some reports suggest Disney will lose money on this project. And they are saying it earned under $1 million in China, even though Disney poured $170 million into making it. They allegedly set a record low, under $50 million, for any Disney live-action remake's opening. Rachel Ziegler has allegedly turned Disney's new Snow White into one of the most hotly debated movies in recent years. Instead of the usual whimsical Disney introduction, we got a situation where one actress's behavior plus some studio choices slammed right into public anger.
Like, this is America right now. I will love you through these 4 years as best I can. F Donald Trump. Yeah, totally stable thing for her to be posting, wishing harm upon Trump voters, wishing that we have no peace.
So she came out and took a large dump on half of the country, everyone who voted for Trump.
But you are not entitled to call for Trump supporters to be harmed. Like, you are actually not entitled to do that.
And they postponed the release of this thing, Ben, for a year because their star, Rachel Ziegler, was so unlikable, told all Trump supporters that they could off, but she did. That was just in November. They didn't even know she was going to do that one.
President Rachel Ziegler also posted, F Trump kinds of posts on social media. She also said that she hoped that Trump supporters, quote, never know peace.
For a moment, people were intrigued when they heard the West Side Story star was going to be Snow White. Then Rachel Ziegler started talking, a lot, and apparently dissed the 1937 classic by calling it weird and out of date. She acted like that beloved film was a pile of old garbage, and folks noted she was basically calling out the original for focusing on a love story with some guy who she claims was following her around in a creepy way. People from inside the fan community are reporting that Ziegler implied the prince is no longer a source of safety, and that Snow White isn't going to dream about real love. Oh my gosh, that was where old school Disney fans noticed what they felt was a smug, almost dismissive vibe. It got hotter when her political beliefs popped up. They mentioned she posted pretty sharp, near hateful remarks against a former US president, basically telling his supporters to vanish and never feel peace. There's chatter that she made statements attacking everyone who voted for Trump. According to individuals watching social media, Rachel Ziegler posted harsh stuff like F Trump, hoping Trump backers never find calm. And that crossed a line for some folks, and critics are saying you're not supposed to encourage harm toward Trump voters. They show maps of how many people that includes, especially when her Disney project debuts. Insiders are saying she also wrote, "I'll try to love you folks through these 4 years," but then slammed Donald Trump in a pretty stable, well-publicized kind of way.
This is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive.
And then she came out and she said, I apologize. Like, I went too far, but it wasn't sincere.
The movie has a major identity crisis.
It's got extra musical numbers that are incredibly unnecessary that really add to that runtime. And let me go ahead and let you know that they're absolutely atrocious.
I sat through the whole thing. This was really bad. It was extremely leftist on every political dimension.
The movie is doing catastrophically. They spent $300 million and it currently has a 2.2 out of 10 rating on IMDb.
Racial politics, sexual politics, class politics, regime politics. Its narrative was cowardly. It was just awful.
They say all you have to do to make your wish come true.
Disney deleted Someday My Prince Will Come and made a modernized feminist alternative. It's awful, generic. Never mind that the lyrics make no sense at all. All you have to do to make your dream come true is let it echo. Is it like on a metaphorical level? What does that mean?
Yes, people claim she was basically telling them she hoped they'd never find peace. And apparently the film got delayed for a year, partly because the star, Rachel Ziegler, was so unlikable to many, telling all Trump supporters to go away. Or so these rumors say. Those who were on the fence about a live-action Snow White now felt a real push to skip it, not wanting to support a lead who seemed openly hostile to half the nation. Rachel Ziegler did send out an apology, but watchers called it fake, and she was out there talking about how sorry she was for going too far, yet not everyone bought it. Meanwhile, Disney marketed this version as a cutting-edge spin, but instead of softly modernizing the 1937 classic, they basically gutted the story. Ziegler bragged about tossing any old-fashioned love narrative, saying Snow White doesn't need a partner. While plenty of people see no harm in crafting a strong princess, fans felt Disney trashed all the romance and cozy feel that made the original a fairy tale. The film ended up with a huge personality crisis, and watchers claim this is typical of certain progressives who keep boomeranging back to do something that isn't so progressive at all. They're talking about the catastrophic performance, around $300 million spent, but an IMDb rating of about 2.2 out of 10, with the whole thing labeled painfully left-leaning in every political sense. It apparently includes extra musical numbers that stretch things out, but folks say they're worthless. Actually, there's talk that they erased Someday My Prince Will Come and swapped in some preachy new tune, urging folks to just let their wishes echo. People can't figure out what "let it echo" is even supposed to mean.
These big bad feminists now are telling us that's ridiculous. How dare you want to meet a handsome prince and be swept off of your feet and live happily ever after? No, you should want to be the prince. You should want to go out and fight the bad guys with a sword.
So no prince or a different kind of prince?
I'm sure a lot of people will assume it's a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie. Right. Andrew Burnap, great dude. Yep. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
Who the hell are you to say all of Andrew's scenes could get cut? Like, who are you?
Oh my God.
Are you Disney?
And accusing Disney of inserting unnecessary feminism into classic fairy tales.
I've read your book, and I have. It's a phenomenal book. You're losing generation of loyal viewers. When you think about Snow White, what is the premise? What is the story?
It's a love story. It's a love story.
It's a dream for...
Those big-time feminists they are implying tell us we shouldn't want a charming prince or a fairy tale ending. They want us to aim to be the prince ourselves, sword-fighting villains. And Rachel mentioned the new male character, Andrew Burnap. Might be out of the final cut anyway, which sounds pretty dismissive, right? People wonder who she is to say all of Andrew's scenes could vanish, as though she's the one in charge. There's talk of folks reading the original story and describing. It is fantastic, outraged that the main theme is basically an attack on romance. They suspect the premise was once about a girl who grows up and finds love, yet now she's calling that lover a stalker. Right around the film's promo phase, Ziegler's old post got exposed again, apparently mocking Trump supporters, calling them nasty stuff, and hoping they never find peace. Even some who hated Trump think that's too far. They note that if you're the face of a Disney princess project, antagonizing loads of possible moviegoers might not be the brightest plan. For a while, Disney tried to fix the situation, instructing PR to soften her image, but she allegedly refused to dial down her convictions, repeating them in interviews. Insiders think she just wouldn't keep quiet, and some watchers think she doesn't deserve a big production, but maybe a padded cell. Online, people kept repeating the idea that she hates half of us, yet wants our money. That vibe spread quickly across social platforms, fueling calls to skip the film and harming its opening weekend. The dwarfs are crucial to Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, but Peter Dinklage singled them out as outdated stereotypes, pushing Disney to panic. Instead of carefully tweaking their characters, Disney seemed to cut them completely. Leaked pics suggested strange CGI creatures, then gossip hinted they'd be replaced by a diverse group of bandits, and then hasty reshoots happened. And it solved nothing. Some watchers pointed to the hypocrisy, claiming Disney wanted to appear inclusive while erasing those roles for little people that could have helped that community. They also lost that playful sense of the Seven Dwarfs, replaced by empty stand-ins nobody really cared about. Folks expected a big moneymaker, with Disney predicting a $150 million opening, which sounded like a no-brainer for a beloved tale retold. Instead, it landed at about $43 million, which experts called horrific, given it likely cost around $200 million to produce.
These are roles made for actors of my stature. I can't go out for the Harrison Ford or the George Clooney roles because that's not for me.
Right.
And now it's taken away. I don't feel that's right.
Then they got even crazier and they decided that the dwarves in Snow White weren't woke enough, okay?
Did the dwarfs make it or no?
Well, the CGI dwarfs did. Of course, that goes back to the original controversy where Peter Dinklage, a very talented little person actor, said, why are we doing that? We've hired a Latina actress to be Snow White. That's progressive. But you're going to hire little people to play the dwarfs? That just seems like a step backwards. And then, of course, Disney instantly buckled and said, okay, we're going to add magical creatures.
Audiences stayed away. Parents said they felt shut out by the new vibe, the politics, and the way Rachel Ziegler came across. Teens found it cringe. Old fans felt it spat on the original. And by the second week, the movie was vanishing from cinemas. Analysts declared it one of Disney's worst flops in years. Reviewers didn't hold back. One top-voted take claimed there's no magic, no heart, just some dull attempt to fix something that was never broken. Someone else typed that they couldn't believe Disney spent that much to insult its own legacy. Even merchandise, like toys and dolls, reportedly sat on shelves, hinting nobody was interested. After that box office bomb, rumors suggest Disney is in panic mode. Leadership is said to be scrambling for an excuse as to how this brand extension sank so badly. Some are blaming Ziegler's social media chaos, others suspect the script is the real disaster, and there are whispers of job cuts because the studio has had too many losses. Meanwhile, people in the industry are calling Rachel Ziegler a liability, noting that studios might think twice about casting her in giant flicks. No matter how strong her singing voice is, she might chase away big audiences. Some folks argue the reimagined Snow White could have worked if it didn't come off so scornful about the source material. Look at something like Frozen, which balances a modern princess with genuine heart. Critics suggest Ziegler's Snow White never showed any warmth or humanity, just moralizing. During interviews, it sounded like she was gleeful about ditching the romance, almost mocking old-school love. But fans wanted a princess with new confidence, not someone who seems to roll her eyes at the mere idea of companionship. If Disney had found a middle ground, keeping dwarfs, keeping the essential story, and just weaving in fresh angles, maybe Snow White 2025 wouldn't be so disastrous. Instead, it felt like a scolding piece overshadowed by Ziegler's public image and the film's blunt rewriting. People wonder if Disney could have saved it if she'd toned down her words, or if the studio could have told her to rein in her public remarks. Some guess yes, because Disney's brand loyalty is huge, and a better PR plan might have changed enough minds. Others say the script had so much negativity toward the original that no actress could salvage it. Either way, it highlights a wide gap between what studios push and what fans actually want. People want new versions that still respect what made the original so special. They don't want the stars trashing the classic or telling them to go away if they don't line up politically. And this fiasco might be the big jolt Disney needed, because the days of relying on nostalgia while throwing in heavy-handed modern messages could be done. Future remakes might require a softer approach and a lead who doesn't treat the audience like dirt. Rachel Ziggler is learning that being too vocal has a cost. Audiences don't like an actress insulting their memories, mocking fairy tales, or telling them to get lost if they vote differently. The fallout from Snow White seems huge, with Disney's stock taking a hit, chatter about more cuts, and possible cancellations of certain projects. Some say the era of Disney's endless remakes and has run its course. If you fail to keep the original spirit, no marketing campaign can stop those theaters from going empty. So there it is. Snow White 2025 became a clash of giant politics, messed up character treatment, and a star who pushed a lot of buttons. Instead of a groundbreaking fairy tale for a new age, we got chaos, calls for boycotts, and a giant flop at the box office. Fans are worried this fiasco shows the worst side of Disney's latest path. People are wondering if Disney and Rachel Ziggler will learn anything this time. If you alienate your fans and destroy a timeless story, it's not exactly a fairy tale ending. But do you think it could have been rescued with a nicer star or a more faithful script? Or was it doomed the second Rachel? Ziggler started slamming the precious old classic? Let me just tell you, I'm curious what you think. Leave a comment, share this with a friend, hit that like button, and definitely subscribe if you want more conversations like this. We have it on good authority that Disney might try again with another live-action rehash soon, so let's go. And maybe we should keep our hopes low.